Claus named his dog?
I don't know what.
Santa Paws. I went out and looked at all of the Santa jokes.
You got prepared ahead of time before you showed up today.
I needed them because we get a weekly newsletter where I live, and they didn't have room this week to put any Santa. Yeah, they usually put those kind of jokes in there, you know, and so I needed those.
Well, the Bible says laughter does good like a medicine.
That's right.
I agree.
That's right. It's so quiet in here. Are y'all snacking? Is that? It just seems so quiet, you know.
When I worked at Walmart, I'd be walking down the road. And
Oh, that's awesome.
just real
Thank you,
serious
thank
on
you.
their face.
Uh-huh.
They do look very serious now.
Yeah, they just looked real. I mean, you could tell they were trying to solve some problem. Or they were in
Thank
trouble.
you.
Fun.
And I would ask them,
I love it.
I'm not
Thank
going to
you.
make bananas any longer. And they looked at me and said, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. Said they're not going to make them any longer because they're long enough already. Thank you.
This is awesome, Phyllis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas to me. And I feel like if class has already started,
Facebook yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and in the comments, Mom, do I need to send you the tin for my English toffee? And should I remind you that I gave you the recipe, the pan, and showed you and Davis how to make it?
yeah.
So this morning she says, I'll try.
So what a shame that the stream has already started and Brandon wasn't here. So I guess these are both mine now.
Oh, that's too bad.
I'm just kidding.
Yes,
You're underneath the seat.
thank you.
I gotcha. Sometimes I get something right like that.
You did a good job.
So
Is she coming?
Wow. Look at these.
Was Faith on the stage tonight? I never could see Faith.
Well, it's easier for parents to be like, oh, there he is, but he was right in the front.
he was front and center.
Yeah.
Just to the if you're
Just
looking at
to
the
the
stage,
right.
just to the right of the
He
podium.
wasn't the one that was doing somersets on the stage
No.
or whatever.
No.
They get all the
were-
love.
We were so concerned that kid was going to fall off the stage.
Morgan was like, she was like this because we were watching the kids, and she was like, Brandon, like get ready,
Yeah.
if it comes. So
I wasn't worried about.
We're sitting there going,
yeah.
Who was the little girl during the solo?
I don't.
uh,
Oh, they did with the mic or her own.
the Harrell's daughter. I don't remember what her name is though.
isn't the sister
The Harrells, their daughter. They have family here, so.
Yeah.
They're
It was a.
ready to go. Yeah. It was
It was,
awesome.
it was a family thing.
It was
a
awesome.
family thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Well,
Oh man,
yeah.
it
Yeah.
was great.
One little girl's gonna be a leader in her day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she is. Yeah, she is.
I told everybody my daughter when she was little was in the program,
Mhm.
and everybody was singing there. And she was so embarrassed. She had this velvet dress on, was so cute. And she reached behind and pulled her underwear down and scratched her face.
Wow.
Hey, you got an itch, you got to take care of it, you know?
But the unnecessary step of I gotta pull it down a
Yeah.
little bit. And
Well,
so-
you know.
So she
That's right.
That's awesome.
That's right. Do what you got to do.
Well,
So,
But your big kids did great.
yeah.
yeah.
I made sure to congratulate the teenagers. I was like, y'all were so cute up there. Y'all did so good.
Yeah, the whole group of teenage boys were just looking at each other the whole time. Like, I can't believe we're up here.
I meant Raina and Remy. I didn't mean
Yeah, I
those
know.
kids.
Oh, I know.
No, Raina she cracks me up because she was like, "This is a serious performance, and I'm gonna."
She
put
got
my
down there
heart
and she was
into
like, "Baby, down, baby," or Mary for a little bit. Take the baby away.
it." "Yeah,
Ashley
Yeah.
came up and
here, get this."
was so-
It was funny.
all we saw was
Yeah.
just her two little legs hanging up
Yeah.
in her little Christmas sock.
Well, because that manger is built at an angle,
Yeah.
and so when I don't know if Ashley realized that, but when they put it up on stage, like
Yeah.
they had they had the higher part of it turned towards the crowd.
Yeah.
So it's like you
She
know,
really
there's
was
she's,
like,
laying back and her feet are up in the air. And,
But there were feet.
yeah.
yeah,
I like,
they were kicking.
cackling.
Yep.
Hey, Linda.
Yeah.
So your whole family made it in.
Yes. Yes. And thankfully, Morgan and I didn't have to, nobody had to intervene.
We did something similar years ago when Griffin was a baby. He was like, he would have been about 4 months old, and they reenacted the Christmas story in the kids ministry. And Christy was Mary, and she like had this robe on,
And the shawl.
and she had him underneath the whole thing. And then it was like, Joseph, it's time, and then she just reaches, and just pulls out a
Whoa!
live baby, like, oh look,
Wow,
it's baby Jesus.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, okay.
Miraculous.
We are in Mark chapter 11. So you got your Bibles, your Bible apps. Head to Mark chapter 11. To this point, Jesus has cursed a tree. He has
Entered
overturned
triumphantly.
tables. He has come into town like basically in a parade. That's not in chronological order, but those are things that he's done so far in this chapter. And because he's caused such a stir, both with the way he entered town and then the way the next day that he turned over the tables, and even just for his own disciples and followers, the whole interaction with the tree, and using that as an opportunity to talk about, consistency with your faith. What's on the outside needs to match what's on the inside, and even talking about the power of prayer. I mean, there's just a lot just in the first, half or 2/3 of the chapter here in chapter 11. And as we have said before, we are in the last week of Jesus' life before the crucifixion. And so, Mark doesn't necessarily line it out that way or say, here's, how many days he's got left. It's not like a countdown. We just know from looking through some of the other gospels, that's kind of where we're at. So it seems as though, best we can tell, Jesus heads back out of town at the end of every day, we're assuming. He's at least done that once so far in chapter 11, where he heads back to Bethany. And we assume that probably, even though Mark doesn't say this, he's probably going to Lazarus and Martha and Mary's house, because that's where they lived.
It's a good assumption.
It's a 2-mile walk outside of town. And so that's kind of in this time leading up to the Passover, this last week before the Passover as well. Jesus has kind of this home base in Bethany. He keeps going into Jerusalem. He's not in Galilee anymore. These religious leaders that seem to always have a problem with him or seem to be combative aren't having to come from Jerusalem to Galilee anymore. And it's not rabbis that are in the Galilee area. He's kind of
Jesus came into.
He's in their home base now, their home territory. And you got your rabbis, your Pharisees, your teachers of the law. You got your Sadducees, which were mostly the priests and guys like that. In the next chapter, we're going to run into some Herodians who are also based out of Jerusalem. So he's kind of, instead of them coming and saying, let's go watch this rabbi, let's go see what he's saying, he has come into kind of into the lion's den in a way. He's coming into their territory, which again is why they seem to keep having problems with what he's doing and with his authority, and why they keep asking him about that, because
He came into their turf.
right, this is where we live, this is where we work, and who gave you the right to come in and do all these things? Which is the question that they ask here where we left off in chapter 11. So that kind of lays the background for where we left off last week. Let's start in verse 27. They arrived again in Jerusalem, talking about Jesus and his disciples. They arrived again in Jerusalem, and while Jesus was walking in the temple courts, so again, he's going back to the temple. So like day before, 2 days before, we don't know which day it is, but this is where he had cleaned things out, right? And so
Time he did that, I thought there was another.
there might have been another time. If you read in John, there's a time early on in his ministry.
It's like one of the first things that he does.
And so I don't know. I know I'm pausing my own reading here, but I wonder if, as he's walking through the temple courts, there's people like, "Hey, man, that's the guy that turned over the tables. That's the guy that
Probably.
was driving the animals out of here." I wonder how many animals have come back, like animal sellers or money changers. How many of them have come back now?
A guy's coming with his purse and sees Jesus and says,
Never mind. Anyway, he walks into the temple courts, and the chief priests, the guys that are in charge of what happens in the temple, and the teachers of the law, and the elders,
Wow.
came to him. Verse 28, by what authority are you doing these things, they asked, and who gave you authority to do this? Jesus replied, I will ask you one question. Answer me, and I will tell you by what authority I'm doing these things. John's baptism. Now, he's talking about John the Baptist, not John the Apostle. John's baptism, was it from heaven or from men? Tell me. They discussed among themselves and said, well, if we say from heaven, he will ask, then why didn't you believe him? But if we say from men, and then it's kind of ... They feared the people, for everyone held that John really was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, we don't know. And Jesus said, well, then neither will I tell you about what authority I'm doing these things. Which is so great. I mean, it's just a really good interaction from Jesus here.
He's great at banter. He's
Yeah.
really good at not deflecting, like, I'm not going to answer that question, so I'll tell you this. He's just really good about making people think.
Which, I know we've mentioned it before, but this is what rabbis did. This is how they taught people, and this is how they discussed things with each other, was kind of tossing questions back and forth. And you would answer a question with a question, or you would kind of not be cryptic in your answer, but you would kind of throw in another answer sometimes to get to see what the reaction was going to be. And you know, there was a back and forth to their discussions anyway.
You can see too, I mean, in Mark, but in lots of other places, that Jesus, that's a normal practice for him to answer other rabbis, but that's a normal practice too for him just to talk to people. Think about the rich young ruler,
Chapter 10, yeah.
In chapter 10, he was like, what do I have to do to get eternal life? And he says, well, what does the Old Testament say? Mm-hmm. So he's responding.
Answers the question with a question.
Yeah, and it's this normal discourse of going back and forth. It's just really interesting where I don't think, is there establishments where that's normal of like, I'm going to ask you something and I expect you to answer me with a question.
Yes, counseling.
I was going to say, you
Counseling?
go to
Yeah,
therapy and
no, you're
counseling.
right.
That's what counselors do. You're like, how should I handle this? Or yeah,
How do you
what
think
should I do
you
about this?
should-
I don't know. What do you think you should do about
No, I'm
this?
asking you.
Yeah,
And you have to do that in your sermon.
You're right.
And it makes you like,
yeah. I try to sometimes. Yeah, exactly. And that's what Jesus is doing. And this is like a direct
Normal
question, though.
discourse.
This isn't even.
Yes.
There's times, and there will be a time again in chapter 12 we're going to get to in just a second, where they come with a question and it's got kind of an ulterior motive to it. There's something they're trying to trap him, or they're trying to have fodder for whatever kind of argument they're going to bring against him. But in this moment, this is just a direct question. This has nothing to do in their minds with kind of a religious or doctrinal kind of questions. They're just walking in going, hey, you've been turning over tables and you've been saying, some pretty harsh things. And you came in here riding like a king. Who told you could do this?
Who gave you the right?
Who gave you the right to do that? There's anger in this question. And they're demanding an answer. Okay. And it's funny, like I said, I read it this way, but it's when you see chief priests, think also Sadducees. So it's the people that are in charge of temple worship and everything that happens in the temple courts, which is where Jesus is right now. But they're also kind of this religious group inside the whole, group of religious leaders. Then you got the teachers of the law, or experts in the law. Those are your Pharisees and other rabbis. And then it says, was it the elders or the leaders? The elders, which are guys in your Sanhedrin. We've mentioned them before, but it'll become more important as we get closer to the crucifixion. But the Sanhedrin was a group of 70 men, who some of them were Pharisees and rabbis, some of them were priests and Sadducees, but they were kind of the ruling council. And any questions about religion, even like political questions, how we deal with the Romans and things like that, they were kind of the official word. And if a rabbi or somebody couldn't figure out how to answer somebody's question, they could come to the Sanhedrin and get their definitive answer. But it's kind of like, what would be? It would be similar to like the Council of Cardinals nowadays in Catholicism, maybe.
Yeah.
There's just kind of a ruling body. They kind of was, they didn't always agree with each other, but they kind of came up with decisions over questions of religion and politics and things like that. And so that's kind of the group that is coming to Jesus in this moment.
So they're putting aside their differences and what they
Yes.
believe on little doctrinal things, like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to get together and question this guy, right?
Yeah.
Because we all agree this isn't okay.
Right.
Okay, let's go
Yeah.
talk to
And
him.
now let's come and talk to him ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't the question also a trap?
Maybe. Why do you think it's a trap?
Well, it depends on who he claims his authority came from.
Right.
If he claimed divine authority, well, that's kind of a blasphemy.
Right.
And obviously, it didn't come from Rome, and it didn't come from them. So they were trying to paint him as illegitimate.
Right. That's true.
Whatever he says, it can't be right.
It'd be a good answer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but then to your point, if they're going to use this as whatever his answer is, as proof
kill him.
that he is blasphemous or proof that he is worldly and not of God, however he chooses to answer, he basically flips the question back on them, right? Because, I mean, it's the exact same question. He's like, okay, I'll answer your question. First, you just need to tell me, John, the guy that came before me, he was baptizing people. Basically, he's asking, by what authority did John get to do that? You're criticizing me, John. I mean, he can't defend himself. He's been beheaded. We've already talked about that story. But was his baptism, was his message, was that from God? Did he receive that ministry from God? Or did somebody else, some worldly person, give him that authority?
And they should know the answer to that question.
Right.
Right? They should be able to say, yeah, for sure. It's one or the other. Because they are they're smart. They're the ones that, like, okay, if anybody's going to figure out who a prophet is, it's going to be them, right? Right? It should be them. So Jesus asks what should be an obvious question. Well, just tell me the authority that this guy, and then we can talk. Because if you guys know where authority comes from, then you guys will be able to tell.
Right. And they were probably divided somewhat on John.
Yeah.
Because if you know anything about John's ministry, we've mentioned him a few times. If you go over to the book of Luke, and Luke's description of John when he was baptizing, when he was preaching before Jesus shows up, some of the Pharisees, some of these teachers of the law come out just to kind of like they did with Jesus.
What's
There's
going on?
this
What's going on
crazy, guy that eats grasshoppers that's out here baptizing in the Jordan River. What's this all about? They just go out to see what's going on. And as soon as John sees them coming, these preachers, these religious leaders, he's like, oh, here come the snakes.
Brood of vipers.
Brood of vipers, he calls them. And it's like,
They're gonna be
hey,
destroyed.
who told you guys that things are getting dangerous around here? And like, ooh, ouch,
Ooh.
So they probably, at least that group of people, didn't like him very much. At the same time, John was very critical of one of Herod's sons. He also was a Herod, who ended up, his sister-in-law divorced his brother, and he divorced his wife so they could marry each other. And John was like, this can't happen. This is against the law. Well, the teachers of the law would be like, exactly right. He's right in that. The Herodians, the people who followed Herod, were like, hey, this guy can't be saying things like that. So there's division that hasn't been on display. But there would have been division even amongst these guys that are talking to Jesus about how they felt about John. There's some of them that would have thought, he's probably from God, because think about the things that he taught. And there's some that are like, nah, he's not from God. He's, crazy guy that wears camel's hair and eats bugs. Like, there's no way. And so they were already divided themselves. Yeah. But then Jesus asked them a question: is that from man or from God? And Jesus is very demanding. He's like,
Tell me.
yeah, don't talk about it for a while. Answer right now.
I
Don't
will
go
ask
back
you-
to your counsel.
I'll ask you one question,
Yeah.
and you answer me right now.
Yeah, because there would have to be a crowd around. Besides his disciples, he's in the temple courts. There's people who have gathered around, and they would have asked this question loudly, and trying to even draw a crowd to see how Jesus is going to answer. And so Jesus is like, well, all right, you guys answer in front of everybody. Answer right now. That's why it's, tell me. Let's go. What's your answer?
You would think that these guys would get tired of trying to trap Jesus, because Jesus always flips it around. Is like,
Always.
it's y'all.
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
right here, like, no, guys, do not approach Jesus, because he'll flip your words and he'll
Yeah.
come right back at you.
So basically, they huddle up, and like, okay, all right, what can we say? Okay, how do we murmur? And what's the two options? if we say it's from God, well, we can't say that because why?
They'll say, well, why didn't you believe it?
Yeah, you didn't get baptized. It is from God. Then why didn't you do what God through John was telling you to do?
And what you're saying is correct then of that. A couple of them probably believed
Yeah,
that he was.
right. But also, they already know ahead of time. They're
thinking
the
three
chess
to play
match.
chess.
They're
Yeah,
already
they're playing
thinking
chess.
like, okay, if we say this, he's going to say this. But if they say it's from men, what's the problem?
People will turn on them.
Okay, it's not even whether they believe it's from men or not. They probably actually in their heart of hearts believe it's from God, but they can't say that because they know what their response is going to be. So then, okay, let's say it's from men then. Well, we got this whole crowd of people who are convinced that John was the prophet Elijah, that John was the
forerunner.
prophet that Malachi had talked about 100 years before that was going to come before the Messiah. So we're scared to death of the crowd turning on us, and not even like physical harm necessarily, but we don't want to give Jesus any more credit than he already has. And if this crowd is already thinking he's at least a prophet, they're going to even more so come over to his side, or at least be against us.
Yeah, I mean, think about coming to. This is not a good illustration, but think about
Say
coming
it anyway.
to like candlelight service, where because remember they're coming for Passover. They're
Mm-hmm.
coming to celebrate and do something that they've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. Imagine coming to candlelight service and for Marshall to say something that is not wrong, but maybe just like a little bit like what
Stretches a little bit.
stretches a little bit and be like, what? No, like, we're here for Passover. We're doing Passover thing. We're here for candlelight service,
Yeah.
and we're focusing on why are we saying something that's a little stretchy and stuff too? And
Yeah.
they think, oh well, even if we believe that, we can't say that out loud because we're all here for this Passover, and there's lots of people listening. Like we can't do that.
We don't want people questioning us either.
No.
Yeah.
No. So they're trapped.
So
It's kind of odd that these people that in normal circumstances practically hated each other, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the Sadducees and the Pharisees were at each other all the
Mm-hmm.
time, and then the Herodians that was a whole different ballgame anyway.
yeah,
And so that they would, in everyday life, they didn't even like each other.
But we all
But
hate.
of Jesus, yeah, he was
We
the
all hate
common-
Jesus.
He was the common, yeah.
hatred of him was a very unifying thing apparently. So, so they huddle up for a little bit, and then
Boy.
finally they're like, "What's the answer?" We don't.
Is that a
Such a cop out, man.
is that a humble answer, or is that really like we're it is. I feel like it's more
It's
of
totally
a cop out.
I think.
No, we're not going to answer that, Jesus.
Yeah, it was just like, we don't know. Maybe you should tell us, and because then whatever he answers, they can try to turn it back on him. Yeah.
And
so-
Jesus answers that with another cop out. Well, if you're not going to answer, I'm not going to answer.
Yeah,
Stalemate. Well,
That's right.
it's not even a stalemate. Jesus is checkmating them and just saying,
Yeah.
okay, if you won't say it, I won't say it either. You
But-
make your assumptions about me, but
yeah, but also, it's a testimony to their level of faith or their inability or unwillingness, either one, to really believe in him and believe in who he is, because he says, then I'm not going to tell you by what authority I'm doing these things. I don't think I'm agreeing with you. There's part of that is that Jesus is like, well, then fine. If you're not going to answer my question, I'm not going to answer yours. But I think to take that a step further, I think in a way Jesus is saying, if you can't figure out and you're not willing to have
think critically.
the kind of, just even the kind of faith that says, I think God used John. I think that was God that used John. Then you're definitely not going to have the faith to believe in me. Like that's a you problem,
Yeah.
and because he just got done talking about faith with his disciples right before this, and prayer, and throwing mountains into seas and stuff like that. And so I think we're still talking about. I think there's still part of this that's about faith, and Jesus going, man, it's not that I can't answer this question. You are not in a position to hear the answer. your faith is not going to allow you to hear the truth.
Because they're not actually, like what you said, they're not actually wondering so that they can worship Jesus. They're like, this has been a disturbance, and we need to take care of that. And
Yeah.
so let's figure out which authority that you're coming from.
They're not seeking truth. They're
No.
seeking a victory.
Yes, that's a good way to say it.
And I'm so glad that we're not like that in our churches nowadays.
I'm glad the Bible only speaks to
But
those
it's
people.
just the Pharisees that were that
Not
way,
to
and
us.
not us nowadays. Man, that's a dangerous place to be.
Mm-hmm.
That there's sometimes we get so wrapped up in being, not even necessarily being right, in winning the argument, that we will ignore the truth that's right in front of us. And I don't want to be that way. I don't want to necessarily just buy into every single thing that comes down the pike, but I want to be willing to be open and be stretched and be moved and to believe things that maybe were difficult for me to believe in the past. Yes, ma'am.
He's up in his game, right? I mean, he knows this is all laid out.
He's playing his last cards.
There's some
Because he started, he didn't want anybody to know he
Mhm.
was doing it secretly, and then it kept like building,
yes.
and now he's boldly
Yes.
doing it
Uh-huh.
because
It's on purpose. There's a definite. I want to use the word strategy. There's a definite plan and purpose to this. Early on in his ministry, he didn't want people to get the wrong idea about him. But as we talked about, kind of the halfway point there in chapter 9, when he's on when he's transfigured up on the mountain, when he comes back down, there's a
It's
more
different.
there's no more telling people, hey, don't tell people I'm Messiah. He doesn't do that anymore. And then he's been kind of on the other side of the river, leading up to this, still teaching and kind of being a little bit more direct, definitely with his disciples. Hey, here's what's getting ready to happen, and kind of preparing himself mentally and spiritually, I think, and also trying to get his disciples ready. And now, he walks into Jerusalem, and there's no, like, you come in on a parade and people are saying King David is back. That's the Messiah, and he's like welcoming it.
Yeah, he's not saying, "Hey, no, don't tell anybody."
Which, by the way, back in the Old Testament, who would have the authority to go into the temple and throw some things around besides the priests themselves? The king would, the king would. So, and the Messiah in Jewish mindset was not just about a king. The Messiah was also a high priest. And so Jesus is kind of flexing his muscle, so to speak, in both of those roles, going, not answering their question, but going, I have the authority to do this because I am a king and I am a priest and I am the ultimate authority of your questions, of your faith. There's no denying it now. He's not telling anybody to be quiet. And when they're coming and asking about this, and they're going to ask him more questions, we're going to see here in chapter 12, they keep trying to come and say, you're not the Messiah. You're not the one with authority. You're not this prophet. And Jesus, just by the way he responds to his questions, is definitively saying, yeah, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yeah, he's not hiding from it anymore. And it's intentional. It's intentional. Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, if you're reading the book of Hebrews, that's kind of the big theme of Hebrews is like Jesus is the high priest.
Yeah.
He is the human that we couldn't be. He is the next Moses, or the ultimate Moses, the ultimate Elijah,
The ultimate king.
the ultimate king, the ultimate priest. And so taking all these things, it's like, yeah, no, he was. And we'll show you exactly how that works out.
Jesus himself is demonstrating that
Yeah.
without specifically speaking those words.
Yeah.
Good questions. Anything else?
Interesting banter back and forth. And you got to love how Jesus talks to his enemies.
The amazing thing is that you look at Psalm 22, written 1,000 years before this, and he predicts that pierce my hands and my feet,
Mm-hmm.
that gamble for my clothes, that
Mhm.
ridicule and mock me.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he left heaven. He going through all this, going through all of it, with a foreknowledge about what to happen.
Yes.
He's challenging these guys, and he knows exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still he came.
Yeah. I think about, just, well, different experiences that I've either seen people have or experienced myself. Like you and I have had a similar experience of climbing a mountain in Colorado, and with that guide service that we used, like you get to a certain point, and then we have, I guess after we get to high camp, the next day is like kind of rest day. Well, I can't remember what the name
Solo
was.
day.
Solo day. Thank you. Before we go all the way to the summit the next day. And part of that was just let your body relax a little bit, get used to the higher altitude, that kind of thing. And then part of it, at least these folks had us like, get yourself mentally ready. Like there were some devotional things we did, some just quiet time by yourself, so that when we head up to the top of this mountain tomorrow, you're going to be as best prepared to do that as you can be. Is it still going to be a struggle to get up there? Yep. But you're going to be the best prepared that you can be for that journey. I feel like leading up to chapter 11, like when we get to, chapters 9 and 10, that's what Jesus is doing. When he goes over on the other side of the river and, people are coming to him, he's trying to get some time along with his disciples and things like that. There's just, I think it's like this, let me get ready because I'm heading to the cross. To your point, I know where I'm going and I know what that's going to require. I know what that's going to take. Even though I haven't experienced it, I have a sense of what that's going to take. And I've got to be ready for that. But now he's in it. Now we're heading to the summit. We're heading to the top of the mountain. We're heading to the cross. And he is taking on all comers along the way, you know?
Yeah.
So it's funny, they question his authority, and then it's our English Bibles that make the chapter divisions, right? So we'll jump into chapter 12, but we're not really switching gears here, because the first thing in chapter 12 is like, he then began to speak to them in parables. So Jesus, we had this discussion about authority, and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to tell you because you can't accept it anyway. So I'm not even going to tell you about what authority to do this. And then it's like he turns to the rest of the crowd while those guys are still there. It's like, let me tell you all a story. So we're still kind of in the context of authority here
In the temple.
in the temple courts. Okay. So everybody kind of picture that in mind.
That's the importance of not, hey, let's just read the parable of the tenants and kind of pluck that out.
Yeah.
So we get to read it.
It's
here
in the context of what's been going on to this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 1, chapter 12, begin verse 1. A man planted a vineyard. He put a wall around it, dug a pit for the winepress, and built a watchtower. And then he rented the vineyard to some farmers and went away on a journey. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenants to collect from them some of the fruit of the vineyard. But they seized him, beat him, and sent him away empty-handed. Then he sent another servant to them. They struck this man on the head and treated him shamefully. He sent still another, and that one they killed.
Oh.
He sent many others. Some of them they beat, others they killed. Verse 6, he had one left to send, a son, whom he loved. He sent him last of all, saying, they will respect my son. But the tenants said to one another, this is the heir. Come, let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. And so they took him and killed him and threw him out of the vineyard. What then will the owner of the vineyard do? He will come and kill those tenants and give the vineyard to others. Haven't you read this scripture? The stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. We'll stop right there before we get the reaction, although you probably read ahead.
Probably no.
So Jesus tells this story about this landowner, and it's maybe this is a story that's familiar to you. I don't know. Maybe it's the first time you read it, or first time in a long time. Not uncommon back in this time. If you're wealthy enough, you might have land, you might have a vineyard, you might have a farm somewhere else besides your hometown, and so it was not uncommon at all for you to allow other people to live on there. I mean, it happens nowadays. People live on land and do all the farming stuff and just send a portion of the proceeds back to the actual landowner, right? So that's not even uncommon nowadays. And it doesn't seem like he necessarily even wants money, in this story. Just send me some of the produce. Like, I've got this vineyard. Send me some grapes. I want to make some wine from my vineyard. And he sends a servant to go get some of the produce. And what happens? The first one, they just beat him up because why?
Who's going to do anything about it?
He's not here.
Right.
Who's going to stop us? Right? So, and then if we don't send anything back, what does that mean? We get to keep it all ourselves. And we get to be in charge. We're the ones who decide who gets to distribute this fruit and how it gets distributed. Okay? Sends another servant. What do they do to that one?
Struck him
Knock
in
him
the
upside the head. Okay?
head,
And
man.
treat him shamefully, which, I don't know exactly what that is. I didn't do any study on that word, did you?
I'm not sure. No, I didn't see what that word is.
Um,
Could look.
And then they sent another guy. And what do they do to that one? The third guy. They killed that guy.
We're ramping up the violence here.
Yeah. So they beat up the first guy. The second guy is they
They whacked him on the
they
head.
hit him on the head and then
Send him away in dishonor.
mistreat him. Yeah. Kill the next guy, and then we don't know for sure how many, but they send some more,
Many others is
Yeah.
what mine says.
and some of them they beat up, and some of them they kill. So
Okay.
every time this guy sends somebody, this assault happens.
What's wrong with the landowner?
That's a good question.
I mean, it speaks to who God is, but what's wrong if this happened in real life? What's wrong with the landowner?
He's insane because he keeps doing the same thing over and over and hoping it's
expecting different results.
Yeah.
which is the
After
definition
the
of
second guy
insanity.
gets beat up, he'd be like, "I'm sending the Legion to go."
I have friends who farm for another friend,
Uh-huh.
and this is all covered under contract now. This kind of stuff. Now you're going to court, you're going to jail.
Right.
But obviously, this was a verbal contract that he had with these people.
That's true. It's probably more a verbal contract.
Get away with it.
Did they at least it?
They felt like they could get away with it, and not be punished.
Right. Which is what you were just saying a second ago to mine is like, even if it was a verbal contract back in this time, that still counted. Like they were legally obligated to give him his due share of this is his vineyard, it's his property. And so this is one of those, it's kind of like the parable in Luke of the lost son.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is there's a little bit of hyperbole here. There's no way, even in the Jewish culture, that a guy would send this many servants over and over and expect different results. And it's on purpose. Like Jesus is kind of overemphasizing how just the ridiculousness of
Yep.
these tenants treating the landowner this way. And it just, it's shocking. And people would just kind of be, as they're listening to the story, be shaking their heads like, no, they're not. What? No.
Well, excuse me, I think anytime I've ever read this, I always think, why didn't the landowner just go back instead of keep sending these people?
Yeah.
Especially after they killed the first one.
Right.
I think
Once you
he
kill the guy,
was-
shouldn't the landowner show up and go, hey,
Yeah.
For the
He was afraid of being killed.
maybe so.
for the sake of the parable,
Yeah.
for the sake of the parable, I'm really thankful that after they were like, "Oh, let's beat this guy up," that the landowner didn't just come and be like, "I'm gonna murder all of you," for the sake of the parable.
Yeah.
Because if that had happened in the parable, I'd be like, "Oh," because
Yeah.
if all of that is talking about the religious leaders and the spiritual stuff of the day, this, I mean, we're gonna talk about it, but this is just showing how merciful and forgiving and second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances that the landowner has. That looks audacious. It looks insane. Of like, there's no way that a rational person would allow something like this to happen. They're getting good stuff. It's been leased to them. These tenants, right? And so they're getting good stuff from
They're
it.
getting the benefit.
Yeah, and that's a part of the contract, a part of the is that they're going to be able to get some of that too. But they're really taking advantage of the landowner. They're really taking advantage of the piece of property and the fruits that are sown from that. And so you'd think a rational landowner would either come in person. I think that what does this happen? Yeah, there's another parable where is it the same one? I can't remember. Where he comes and raises all of them.
Well,
Just-
it's a different gospel writer telling the same story.
Okay,
He includes
cool.
that.
Yeah,
detail,
yeah,
So
yeah.
Mark does include that.
Anyway,
But yeah.
that's where I'm thinking. Anyway, we can.
So
yeah,
who's
keep
so
going.
let's get to the moral of the story. Like
Right.
who's the landowner here?
Well, in Isaiah, they say that the vineyard is the vineyard of the Lord of hosts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's like this is God, and He's given to the house of Israel
Mhm.
and to the men of Judah this land. He's loaned it to them, and they keeps messing it up and messing it up and messing it up. And
Yeah.
he keeps forgiving them and forgiving them and forgiving them to the point where he's got to send his son,
Mhm.
Jesus,
Right.
for all of us.
Right. So the landowner is God. Who are the tenants?
Israelites.
Okay. His people. Are we just talking about just in the time of Jesus' day? No.
All of us.
This is all of us for sure.
Yes.
But if you're just talking about just Israel's history, this is generations. This is hundreds and hundreds of years of God saying, I'm going to provide this for you. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to allow you to experience the blessings that I am providing for you. And what was God's contract? We keep talking about the contract, the agreement. What was God's contract with his people?
He would bless them as long as they obeyed his rules.
Yeah, you be dedicated to me. I will take care of you.
Yeah.
We want to be in this relationship with each other. And over 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 again, what did God's people do?
They broke the contract,
They broke the contract. They walked away.
and he did punish them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it goes clear back to Genesis. I mean, because he gave Adam and Eve the garden.
Yeah.
That was the vineyard. that
And
he
that's their
gave
job.
them. I mean, it goes clear back to the beginning. Of
All the way to the beginning. Yes. This is the way we've always been. Yeah.
I love the. I mean, I don't love it, but it's a man planted a vineyard, right? So this is this place of flourishing, this place of, actual fruit. He put a fence around it, so we're protecting it. Dug a pit for the wine press, built a tower, so there's going to be protection.
Mhm.
So, and if he's going off to another country, this space is supposed to be right. That's not all just for him, right? That's supposed to be. We've got some, and there's tons of people that are lots of tenants that he's leasing it to work it, so that it can bless the rest of the community, so that like they can be blessed too. So it's supposed to be this place where, like, good stuff happens in the community.
It's a place of safety and also a place to not just be blessed, but to bless others.
to bless others, and the community is blessed because of that. And the tenants are hamstringing that because they're like, this blessing is for us.
Yeah.
And I could care less about the landlord. He's not here. What's he going to do? And we'll just keep beating up or keep killing these people that it comes because we'll just keep reaping the benefits. And so the community suffers too because they don't get the good, the wine, the grapes, the good things from the fruit from the vineyard. That's just like they're keeping it for themselves.
Yeah.
Which is very much so what the Pharisees are doing in Jesus' time. And that, I mean, going all the way back to the prophets and stuff, like, that's just what's happening.
Right. So that, and if you read through, First and Second Kings, if you read through First and Second Chronicles, God would send prophets. Hey, y'all need to turn your lives around. Come back to God. He wants to bless you. Y'all have walked away from this relationship. The reason that other countries are taking over your territory and mistreating you is because you've broken your covenant. But God's ready to have you back and to bless you again. What would they do with those guys? More often than not, completely ignore them. Sometimes they would throw them in prison. Sometimes they would beat them up. Sometimes they would kill them. So Jesus, these servants that the landowner is sending is similar to these different prophets over the centuries that God would send and beg his people, please return to me. And they would still ignore, and they would still we're going to call our own shots. And what is he going to do anyway? This is our lives, and this is our stuff. And so finally, what does the landowner say? I will send who? My son. I don't have any servants left. I will send my son.
Who has the authority to be able to come and take back what is rightfully his.
Yes, because it would be his in the Jewish community. Once the landowner died, it would be the son's property anyway. So he's acting on more authority even than these servants. And the landowner says to himself, if I send my son, what's going to happen?
They'll surely, listen to him.
Obviously they'll listen to him. And I know this is all about analogies and stuff, but if this is a real life story, do you think the son would be like, hey,
Dad,
Don't send me.
I don't want to go?
you're giving me a sword to go?
Yeah. But the son shows up with the expectation we're gonna set things right. We're gonna make things the way they should be. The tenants huddle up when they see the son coming, and they say, "What?
This is the air.
if we kill him, then what do we get? We get the land, because once the landowner dies, he doesn't have another heir. So it becomes ours by default.
I wonder.
So let's kill him.
Is that lawful? Like, would that, if you're leasing out land and you didn't have an heir, do you think, is that an actual expectation?
That would, it would, yes and no. So yeah, so.
Because that, I just kill the landowner then.
Yeah.
You would think everybody that's like leasing land as a tenant be like, well, if I could just kill all his whole family, then I'll just have this whole, thing.
It wasn't legal, and yet it was done. I shouldn't say it wasn't legal. It was, huh? That's what I was going to say. Naboth's vineyard back in the Old Testament with Ahab. Ahab had Naboth killed off so he could have his vineyard. It was her idea because Ahab was pouting about it.
The neck turning the head.
Yeah, but they had Naboth killed off, and then they just took the vineyard instead of giving it to. I don't know if Naboth had any heirs or anything. He had inherited it himself. So anyway, so I'm saying that was hundreds of years before Jesus, but I'm saying it was there had been precedent set. Yes. I don't know that that's exactly what God lined out in the law about.
It would be interesting if that's what we're thinking about as Jesus is telling this story. If those three groups, the Pharisees, Sadducees, and the Sanhedrin, are transported back to that same space. Like, hey, evil people do stuff like this.
One of the most evil people that ever reigned over us did something like this.
So that insult to injury, at least in my thought.
Yeah. So when the son dies,
they kill him.
Yeah.
Throw him out of the vineyard.
Yeah. Treat him like trash.
Yeah.
Is basically the analogy there. Then what does the landowner do? Or Jesus asks the question, hey, what do y'all think? What's the landowner going to do now?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
And he kind of answers it. Don't you guys think that he's going to show up? How does he say? He will come and kill those tenants and give the vineyard to somebody else. He's going to get rid of them. Okay? What's the connection here? Obviously, Jesus is the Son, and there's a prediction here that even these tenants, who are, at this point, these religious leaders, are going to kill the Son. Jesus has already told his disciples this is what's going to happen. But then Jesus says, when that does happen, the landowners are going to come, and these people who think that they have authority, who think that they're going to be the ones to call the shots, he's going to get rid of all of them.
It's interesting because they did have authority, the tenants did, because the landowner trusted them.
Mm-hmm.
He leased it out to them, and they are tenants. That word tenants, I mean, I don't have the Greek in front of me. That word tenants, I'm like, they've got this agreement. Like, yeah, we can do this. We can run this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're absent, we'll be in charge. We'll be in charge, and we'll let this flourish. So they did have some authority. But then whenever they start not doing stuff the right way, the landowner sends someone to represent his authority to be like, hey, you guys had authority, but we're not doing things the right way.
Let's fix it.
Kill him. And let's do it over and over and over again. So they did have authority, blessed by the landowner, to be able to take care of this vineyard.
Yeah. And
they are botching it all the way up to the point where you send the actual authority, and we're going to kill him also.
Yeah.
And so it's very natural for the landowner to say, well, let's go and destroy all of them.
So ultimately, I'll just go ahead and answer my own question. Once the church begins, the Pharisees don't have, and the Sadducees, these Jewish leaders don't have the same authority in God's kingdom that they formerly had. But you fast forward about 40 years from when Jesus is telling this story, and the Romans completely destroy the city of Jerusalem, and they tear this temple down, and everything that represented the authority of the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Sanhedrin is obliterated.
Judaism
to the point that, Judaism almost went away.
Yeah.
And there's
the beginning of the diaspora.
Yep.
Right. When they were scattered. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is kind of what Jesus is pointing to here, even in the story. And they may not fully comprehend that. obviously, how would you know 40 years earlier that that's what's going to happen? But I think Jesus is pretty. I think that part of the story is what we can look back at now and go, oh, the landowner did come. Oh, the tenants did get, whoo. You know, it was a destruction. They completely got uprooted out of what they thought was rightfully theirs. Yep. And the landowner, you know, God himself demonstrated, you don't have ultimate authority. I'm in ultimate control here. And I'm gonna prove that, especially after you kill my son.
So getting right back, remember we're in the temple.
Yes.
Day before, a couple days before Jesus has done all this, they're questioning about his authority, and then Jesus has this little banter back and forth about authority. And then he says,
it's a story about authority, right?
Yeah, speaking about authority, you guys think you have some authority. And I mean, it's a parable, so there's a lot that these guys miss because they don't have ears to hear, remember? They don't have ears to hear, so they're able to hear the accusation, I think, very clearly of, y'all are botching this authority. And y'all have, as a whole, y'all have killed, maimed, and destroyed people that have come to try and set you right. And I don't think they're going to understand this. God's sending his son. Like the landowner sends his son. What does that mean? But y'all are going to destroy him too. Okay. But then eventually we're going to be destroyed. Mm-hmm. And I think that they can see the accusation and the sword thrust that Jesus is pushing towards them, of saying, y'all have botched this and it's already over. Mm-hmm. It's already over.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at some of the other Gospels too, we talked about this, how Jesus has, like if you go through the Gospel of John, Jesus has, leading up to this time, has told these guys, y'all are children of the devil. Y'all are, and he's confessed that, yeah, I am the Son. I'm the bread of life, but I'm also the Son of God. Like the analogy is not lost on them.
No.
Okay. Now, after he says this, and that's what I'm glad you pointed out, because ultimately that's why I said this story still belongs in the conversation at the end of chapter 11.
I love it.
We're still talking about authority here. Mm-hmm. We're still talking about who has the right to do the things that they're doing. In verse 12, they looked for a way to arrest him. Why? Because they knew he had spoken the parable against them. Like, Jesus it's not lost on them.
Yeah.
Maybe the rest of the crowd is going, man, that's really weird that like a guy sent all those servants and then his son. Is this true? Jesus, is this true story? You know, there'd be probably some confusion from the crowd. Not the Pharisees and the Sadducees, not these people that are challenging his authority. They know exactly. Oh, he said that about us, and their response is not, "Man, we have botched this. We got
humility.
We've got to figure out how to set things right." What is their response? Let's kill him.
Let's destroy him.
Let's kill him.
Let's live out this parable. Let's do exactly what Jesus said was going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But they don't arrest him right then because why?
They feared the crowd.
Okay, got this whole crowd around. And if we arrest him right now, we're going to have a riot on our hands.
We're dead now.
We're going to have yeah. We're going to be these tenants.
We got to murder him, but like tactfully.
Yeah, we got to be careful about how we do this.
This story is an exact example of crowd mentality.
Oh, for sure.
Because whatever
they capitalized on that.
I mean, they change like the wind.
For sure, but to your point, that's also part of the problem that the Pharisees had in the first place was the crowds that were following Jesus. There's some envy there. They used to flock to me to hear my teaching and my wisdom on God's plan. Now this carpenter's son, they're flocking to him. Like we can't have that, you know.
Their position, their wealth, their income, their status.
It's all being threatened.
Connections. It was all about all the other the rulers and the rabbis.
It was the status.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take that away now. I don't have any security anymore.
Right.
I'm not depending upon God. I'm depending upon my status symbol, my position.
Yeah. Think about early on in Jesus' ministry in John chapter 3.
That's where I was going to talk about. That's
well, you can.
No. You've got it.
When Nicodemus comes to talk to Jesus, and what is Nicodemus's position? He is a rabbi. He is probably a Pharisee, and he's a member of the Sanhedrin. He's part of that upper echelon, that ruling body, right? And he comes to Jesus from a sincere place. There's nothing that I read in John chapter 3 where Nicodemus is like, I'm gonna trap him in his words. There's a legitimate there's legitimate questioning there. There's a legitimate desire for knowledge and understanding. But when does he come to Jesus? At night. Now, to us, I mean, that's kind of significant, but at night, I mean, we got street lights. We turn lights on in the house. Like, we can still see some things. Nighttime back in this time was dark. You know, you might have
Stars
some
on the
torch
moon,
lights
man.
here and there, and you might have a candle in a room, and that's about it. So he's able to come to Jesus without people seeing him. Why was it so important for him to not be seen? Okay. I'm supposed to be an authority. I'm supposed to have all the answers to all the questions. And now I'm going to come to this guy who kind of just showed up out of nowhere. And I'm asking him, I want any of these people to see me not know and to see me question him.
Tough.
So I'm going to come to him at night, which Jesus even responds to, you know, in that conversation after the famous verse, John 3:16, where he said, you know, God loved the world, so loved the world, he sent his only son. After that, like, if you keep reading, Jesus, like, you know, here's the truth. Light's come into the world, but people choose darkness because they don't want people to see what they're doing. Nicodemus,
Wink, wink.
who is coming at night in the darkness, he's choosing darkness. That's a long way to come back to what you're saying a minute ago. These guys who are coming and questioning Jesus' authority and are upset about not being able to trap him in his words, they're losing their status. They're losing their image and their ultimately their authority. And they're losing it to this carpenter's son. He didn't go through the proper training to get to be here in the temple and teach all these people. He's not doing it right. You know, there's a whole process to become a rabbi in the first place, and he didn't do all that as far as we know. So it just infuriates them. And then for him to tell this story
That is
on their home turf that is directed at them, and they know, he's talking about me.
that's what Jeremiah did, though. That's
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
coming right into the temple and saying, "Y'all are wrong."
Yeah. Matter of fact, to that point, I think it's Jeremiah 7,
Yo,
where God gives him this really harsh, here's what I want you to say to my people. And it is
scathing.
like, it is just picking them apart about all the things they're doing wrong. But he's like, I want you to go to the temple doors and I want you to say these things. So as people are coming to church, he's standing outside the door going, wrong, sinner, wrong. Like, y'all are just, you know, can you imagine that? Can you imagine walking in the doors of our church building on Sunday morning and somebody standing out there going, y'all are all doing this wrong and y'all are all failing miserably and God knows it. He was not well received.
It's hellfire and brimstones, but like legitimate.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that got beaten up
man. Yeah.
for his message.
Donna asked me if she thought Jesus said y'all. I said Nazareth was in southern Jerusalem.
I mean, it's you know, country town. Nazareth was
Oh man.
he wasn't citified.
What was that? Yeah, whenever in Acts, whenever the Pharisees have arrested these guys, and like, man, these are just ordinary men that have just been with Jesus. Uneducated, ordinary men. Whenever, so they're, talk to him about that. And then whenever Peter is being interrogated by slaves, a servant girl before Jesus is crucified, they're like, oh, you're a Galilean. Like,
I can tell by your
no,
accent.
I ain't no Galilean. What you talking about?
Yeah, she looks
Yeah,
at his
man.
clothes and hears his voice like, you're Galilean, aren't you?
I ain't a Galilean. Dude.
Oh, that's funny.
So
Okay.
I think you're right. You're correct.
You don't know that the disciples all drove a Honda, right? Because they left
In one accord.
In one accord, yeah. Okay,
One
so
accord.
let's put a bookmark here.
Where they're just
These guys are still going to come back. There's, let's see, 1, 2, at least 3, maybe 4 more questions that they're going to ask Jesus while he's here in the temple. So we'll address those next time. Now, quick question for you guys. Next Tuesday is 2 days before Christmas, right? Yeah. Do y'all still want to have class, or do you want to forego class next week? What would y'all prefer? When are you leaving town?
I think I'm in town.
Okay.
I think we're leaving on the 24th.
Okay, let's tentatively plan on class next week. If that needs to change, we'll put the word out. But let's plan on doing class again next week, and so we'll talk about taxes and
The resurrection
yeah, and the greatest commands of all the Old
on
Testament.
the
Which one's
context
best?
of Christmas happening in 3 days after that.
That's
So
right.
that's funny.
That's going to be our Christmas class.
Yeah. Pay taxes to Caesar.
Yep.
Caesar
All right.
wants Caesars.
Thank y'all for coming.
We want to thank y'all for making us feel welcome.
Oh, we love y'all.
We're looking for a church. I think this probably is one.